Welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video. Game week 10 is done, another low average score game week when a lot of the most selected and most expensive players like Haaland, Saka and Cole Palmer all blank. The winners of game week 10 were the Mo Salah captainers. In this video I'll have a quick look at my game week 10 score before I start preparation for game week 11 by taking a look at potential transfers, the updated watch list and captaincy for the next game week. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more FPL content. But for now, let's have a look. As mentioned, low average score this game week, only 39 points was the average and I got 40 points, so one above average, but I still got a small red arrow. A lot of underperformers in my team, only 3 players returning: Van Dijk with an assist, Guardiola with a goal and Rodgers the best performer with 9 points. Captaincy blank from Haaland, of course, disappointing. He should have scored in game week 10 as well, and I have Semenyo on my bench with 10 points, so that kind of hurts, but considering the fixture for Bournemouth in game week 10, I probably have benched him all over again. So at the moment, my hero from game week 10, Rodgers, he is currently on my bench, but let's have a closer look at my game week 11 team selection. As mentioned, my hero from game week 10, Rodgers, he will be on the bench. He is playing away against Liverpool, a really tough fixture, and he's yellow flagged as well, but I do believe that he will play. He was subbed up as a precaution, and it was really easy to see that he wanted to continue, so he will probably be okay and start in game week 11 as well. This means that my midfield will be Semenyo and Mbeumo playing against each other. Hopefully there will be a lot of goals in that game. Foden and Smith Rowe in midfield, and up top Calvert-Lewin, Haaland and Watkins. In defense, the same players for me: Henderson, Van Dijk, Gabriel and Guardiola. Mikolenko, he will probably be on my bench unless there are any injuries during the week. I'm actually not sure that Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Phil Foden will be in my game week 11 team, and I'll discuss that further in the transfer section. First of all, before planning your transfers ahead of game week 11, note that some of the players are on 4 yellow cards. They are 1 yellow card away from the threshold of getting a 1 match suspension, and some of those players are on this list and they are popular FPL assets like Mbeumo from Leicester, Semenyo, Jackson, Martinez, good way into the United defense, Van de Ven from Spurs and Dibbling, the cheap enabler as well. So those players are probably not the best options to bring in at the moment. If I had them in my team, I wouldn't necessarily sell them, but as mentioned, try to look at other options for the coming game weeks and try to pick up those players after they have served their 1 match ban. In addition, there are midweek games in both the Champions League and Europe League during the midweek, so make sure to hold your transfers as long as possible. If you want more transfer tips or more FPL tips in general, have a look at this video. I made a video about how to reach a top 10k rank, but for now, let's take a look at my potential transfers ahead of game week 11. One of my potential transfers ahead of game week 11 is selling Dominic Calvert-Lewin and bringing in Cunha from Wolves. Calvert-Lewin, he has really underperformed in recent weeks and hasn't really done anything since game week 4. In those other game weeks, he actually have had a okay XG, so he's had chances, but maybe been a bit unfortunate. But in game week 10, he played really bad and wasn't really involved at all. So when considering that they are playing away against West Ham, it's maybe time to let him go and go for a 1-week punt like Cunha. He has looked really well lately and they have a really good fixture in Southampton at home, so I might actually use a transfer on selling Calvert-Lewin and bringing in Cunha. Another option for me is to sell Phil Foden and bring in Son. Phil Foden, I had really high hopes for him when I brought him in game week 8, but He has been disappointing. He was benched in the first match, but even though he started the last match, he didn't really play that well. But when we take a look at the stats, he actually has an expected goal involvement of 2.74, while Son, on the other hand, he only has 1.45. Son, he also has lower ownership, so it's kind of tempting to bring Son in and give him the captain's armband for game week 11. Let me know in the comment section down below, which one do you think is the best transfer, Calvert-Lewin to Cunha or Phil Foden to Son? Well, as I will use my wildcard in game week 12, I have the luxury of taking a 1 week punt. I do believe that saving up transfers after the new rule, that when you use your wildcard, it will keep your transfers after the wildcard. I do believe that it's wise to just have a couple of transfers after you used your wildcard as well. So earlier, if you had 2 transfers before a wildcard week, you will definitely use them both, but for me it makes sense to save them up and use them on long-term transfers closer to Christmas. So at the moment I'm considering selling Calvert-Lewin and Phil Foden, and Cunha and Son are high on the list, but I'm not really convinced, so I've had a look at some other options as well. If I sell Calvert-Lewin, I might actually bring in Jimenez. Good fixture in game week 11 against Crystal Palace. Haaland as well. Not really done so well this season, but he is a big differential, 1.3% owned, and he is playing home against Leicester. If I sell Phil Foden, I might be tempted to bring in Bruno Fernandes. He got his first goal of the season, should maybe have done more in that game, missed a really big chance, so I might take a punt on Bruno Fernandes and selling Foden to Bruno. My transfer will, as mentioned, be a 1 week punt, but if you are not using a wildcard in game week 12, I still recommend bringing in those players. Jimenez, he has Crystal Palace in game week 11, Wolves at home in game week 12, and I can see goals in that game against Spurs in game week 13 as well. And when we take a look at United's fixtures, they are really good. Leicester at home, Ipswich away, before they play Everton at home at the Old Trafford. So those players are good options if you're not using your wildcard in game week 12. The second part of the watch list contains some good assets as well, and I can see why those guys are really popular in the FPL community at the moment. Visa, he is back from injury and did really well in game week 9. I actually don't fancy him in my team at the moment, as I have Mbeumo, and I do believe that we don't need a double up on the Brentford attack at the moment. Solanke did really well, of course, in game week 10, 2 goals and 1 assist, and hopefully he can do the same against Ipswich in game week 11. I actually like him. The only problem for me is that I can't get from Calvert-Lewin to Solanke in one move. I don't have the available funds, so if I bring in Solanke, I have to make 2 transfers, and as mentioned, I want to save some transfers to have them after my wildcard as well. So Solanke, I like him for game week 11, but it might be hard for me to bring him in. When it comes to Wood, the last player on this watch list, he has done really well lately, especially from game week 6. I believe that he has overperformed its XG a bit too much, and I can't really see it being sustainable, so I do believe that he is still a really good value asset going forward, but I think that his goals will dry up a bit. The fixtures are getting tougher as well, so Wood is not on the top of my list right now. I would prefer having Cunha from Wolves. A drop in popularity for the Norwegian Erling Haaland. He is one of the most sold assets ahead of game week 11. However, I do believe that he is actually one of the best captain options for the next game week. He's playing against Brighton. As we can see, their defensive stats are not that good. Still think that he is a decent option. As mentioned, in the last 4 game weeks, he has had over 4 expected goal involvements, even though he only got 1 goal. So one of the best players when it comes to the stats, but he has, as we all know, not performed and delivered the goals that we expect for his price recently. If you lost faith in Haaland and want to go differential, Mbeumo is a decent pick. He is nailed on to start and on penalties for Brentford. They are playing against Bournemouth. On paper, it looks like a really good fixture, but I actually think that Brentford will struggle to score many goals against Bournemouth. They have been really good recently, kept one clean sheet, and only conceded 3 goals, which is second best in the league. 10 big chances conceded, 15 shots on target, and they had an expected goal against them of 4.84. So Bournemouth, a good defensive side, and I don't really think that this is the best week for taking a punt on Mbeumo as captain. The captaincy is not 100% decided for my team. If I sell Foden and bring in Bruno or Son, they might be my captain for game week 11. I will discuss the captaincy and make a decision on my next live. I usually do a stream either on Friday night, the day before the deadline, or on the Saturday, a couple of hours before deadline. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so we get a notification for the next live stream. And also let me know in the comments down below, who do you think is the best captain option for game week 11? Thanks for watching.